Ken. I'm a grateful recovered addict, and I run, maintain, and own Sober House.
How does providing sober housing benefit those recovering from addiction?
Sobriety is a mythical term, and your sobriety is based upon a couple of things. One is personal hygiene, the other one is mental hygiene, spiritual, which is the key to our success. The sobriety part of it is a mixture of all those things together. Having a safe environment to go to, a clean, safe environment where when you go to the bathroom and you go to take a shower when you get home from work, you don't have to take your wallet, your credit card, and your money with you, or your car keys because you're afraid they're going to get stolen. Being able to live in an environment with a bunch of other guys, which would be communal living, is not an easy thing to do because there's many different personalities. Those personalities can be conflictual or they can be harmonious, depending on the type and atmosphere that I maintain at home. So we do remove problematic people because of attitudes or behavior, or mostly for being unclean. They don't do dishes, they don't take showers. Everybody's recovery starts at a different level, depending on when and where your addiction started in your life. If it started younger, you may lack the necessary tools or the know-how to take care of yourself, to feed yourself, to cook, to go food shopping. Sober housing is one of those things that, as the highest level of people who maintain their sobriety, teach the other ones how to achieve that. The sobriety that is provided in my home is not sobriety, it's just a place to live. Putting a name on it as a sober house is just a name. It's the people that live in my houses that provide the sober environment. And that can be very good or very bad. If we have one bad client, it usually upsets and disrupts the whole entire home. That person is either given an opportunity to maintain or alter their behaviors, or they're asked to leave. But if you're trying to get sober and you're starting from scratch and you have no other avenue, it's a great place to start. It teaches you all the necessities, but more importantly, the routine of doing the things over and over and over again. Getting up every day, making your bed, eating breakfast, going to work, coming home, taking a shower, going back out, making a meeting, carpooling with other people, doing laundry together, cleaning the house together. These are all things that repetitiveness gets you away from the addictive thinking. And the addictive thinking is what's going to kill them.
What made you get into the business?
First of it wasn't a business. It was actually a managerial role for a friend of mine. Found out I had some common sense and some good sobriety, and he asked me to manage his home. And from there, it was basically trial and tribulation, and some success and some failures in between. And after a couple of years, I've got a very good idea of how to run a well-maintained and sober house.
Why is this business important?
Basically, people who go through detox have to basically go to a crisis center. From there, they are basically regulated, fed, clothed, cleaned, and from there they go on to what you would call main treatment, a treatment facility, which would be 30, 90, 6 months, a year and a half, depending on the severity of their addiction. And then from there, they are basically released into society. Most people cannot go home because they've done so much damage to their home life or their spouse or their parents or whoever they may be living with. They basically have no job. They have no money. And you need a clean, good environment to go to. So sober housing in that respect provides that for them, and it gives them an opportunity to rebuild their lives.
How do you make sure that they stay clean in these houses?
Living in one of my sober homes right now is basically a general set of orders that are rules that they are to abide to. Those rules are of zero tolerance. If you use, you're removed from the home. If you come home drunk, you're removed from the home. You must maintain your sobriety, you must maintain meetings, sponsorship, and the other part about that is employment, which I find that in my houses, since all my houses are what they would call working houses, that means every single male that lives in one of my homes, and there's 17 clients, they all must maintain employment. They must have a job. They have a reason to get up. They have a place to go to. They have the success of completing a day's work, bringing home some money, and in that respect builds them some character and some self-respect and some pride. Sitting home, watching TV, staying up late, and sleeping in the morning, and not maintaining a quality of life which would be productive for their sobriety, I found doesn't work. So we do not collect state or county money. Everybody that lives in one of my houses has to maintain a job, and it gets them out of the house, gets them on a good routine. They get to save some money so that at some point they will be able to move out and get an apartment or re-enter their family's lives or their kids' lives or whatever else they may be seeking to do. Affords them the opportunity to do so.
What are some ways to prevent drug addiction, especially on Long Island?
Well, drug addiction has become prevalent on Long Island, including and more specifically towards the opioid problem. Um, the federal government, in their ultimate wisdom, has basically made it so that at this point you can't buy pills anymore. You can't go doctor shopping. You can't have prescriptions filled that are over the limits or not properly written. The federal government has done from the day of induction and from production to shipment, everything is well regulated and well tracked. When those pills no longer became viable or able to be obtained, basically heroin has basically jumped into the fray and taken over because people who've already had an opioid addiction now have no other alternative except to buy heroin. And the heroin can be either smoked, it can be sniffed, or it can be shot, which anybody knows anything about drug addiction and heroin addiction, it's not long before they start putting a needle in their arm. Prevention before it starts is, treating mental disorders. People have addictive personalities. Environment, where you lived, how you raised, who raised you, what you've seen as a child. Those are big factors. Educational factors. Educating towards the lack of or use of drugs to make sure that people don't use it or is a big thing. But at the same time, you can't treat an addict who has a mental disorder or a mental defect or a bipolar personality. You have to treat the mental part of it before you can treat the addiction.
What are your thoughts on punitive versus rehabilitation methods?
So punitive or rehabilitation is two different aspects of that, and one is incarceration, and the other one is a drug treatment. Now, most courts will basically give someone who has basically drug crimes the opportunity to either go to a treatment center or go to jail. And a lot of people will always take the rehab. The problem with that is they're not really wanting to be there. So it basically inundates the rehab with a bunch of clients that don't want to be there and they don't really want to get sober. Just they don't want to go to jail because they're scared of going to jail. Suffolk County has started a program a couple of years ago. It was called Drug Court, and I went through Drug Court. Drug Court is basically if you have a drug problem, you go in front of a judge every single week. They urine test you. You talk to your case counselor. They ask you some pointed questions. Are you employed, or are you living in a sober house? Are you maintaining the rules of that sober house? Or if you're living home, they interview your wife, your kids, your boss. They really do a background check on you weekly to make sure that you are within the parameters of your release. The opposite ends of that is if you show up dirty with a urine, or you do not maintain your employment, or you're not home by 9 o'clock at night, they come lock you up. If you don't show up to drug court, they give you a warrant. Now, your lockup from that point on would be from 1 day to 30 days, depending on the severity of your rule breaking. The long and short of it is that I found that it's very productive in getting addicts to change their behavior. And what I mean by that is with incarceration and rehab. So if you relapse, they'll lock you up for 30 days and then they'll send you to a rehab for 30 days. The next time you relapse, they will lock you up for 60 or 90 days. Then they will send you to a 90-day rehab. All in all, drug court can take somewhere from 1 year, which would be the minimum that you can do in drug court, up to 4 years. And sometimes it takes 4 years to break the cycle of addiction. With punitive and with rehabilitative, preferences depending on which route, how hard you really want to keep going with this, because at some point you say enough's enough, and hopefully at that point you can take your sobriety and the gift that you've been giving and use it for your benefit.
Why do you like doing what you do, and how have you made an impact?
The gratitude that I get from doing what I do is twofold. One is the success stories are just, they're so nice. They are just spiritual lifting. They are a reward of a magnitude that I can't really express in words. Having somebody who come in whose life's been basically devastated financially, mentally, spiritually, and then watching them move out a year, 2 years later, get a girlfriend, get married, get a good job, start a career, reunite with their families, have their mom and dad come over and pick them up when they wanted nothing to do with them. The children come over and give them a hug and kiss, and they call them daddy, and they're not afraid of them. The miracle of all of that is just overwhelming. It's one of the gifts I get from doing what I'm doing, but I'm only doing what I've been taught to do, which is to give, which has been so given easily to me by others. Having some empathy and some sympathy for people who are completely down and out and really just need a hand up. There's a saying in AA, it says the only time you look down upon an addict or a drunk is when you're bending over to lift them up. I truly believe that. Everybody needs a hand in life. Everybody needs a help up. It gives me an opportunity to do that. It gives my partner an opportunity to do that. And the gratitude we get from helping so many people is just amazing. The opposite side of that is that for the people who don't make it, the people who don't make it in sobriety, they don't make it in one of my houses, is that hopefully some point along the line they realize what a mistake it was not to take that opportunity to start their lives over again. And hopefully the next time they come back into the rooms or back into sobriety, it's a much shorter term than what would have been if they had just kept running. The deaths that we've experienced in some of our homes, which have become more frequent because of the opioid addiction, I think right now we're at 6 or 7 people who have overdosed and died. That were either in our house and we threw them out, or they died in our house. Those people will haunt me. I will always think there'll be something else I could have done, but unfortunately, in this business, you've learned to step over the bodies because they're numerous. Right now, the odds are 3 out of 100 who make it. So when you're playing with those kind of odds and you're dealing with 17 different clients in 2 different homes, you can just put the math together and realize that statistically speaking, we're not winning, we're losing. But for the ones that do win, that do make it, that are still my friends after 10, 15 years, and they're enjoying their sobriety and they get to take care of their parents and they get to take care of their kids and their wives, and they live a great life and they're happy and sober and joyous and free, that overwhelms me, and it makes it all worthwhile.